Hello and welcome to our lab 2 in architecture and network. We will start our lab today by some reminder of, by some summaries about our work in last lab, in which we try to analyze and understand this program, and we convert the this assembly language, this LAGVH assembly language, into binary or into machine language. Now I will summarize about what this code do. If we look into this first instruction, you can see that we load or we read a value 243 into register X9. Why the value 243 will be written into X9? Because we add immediate value 243 with 0 and then write it into X9. So X9 will have the value of 243, and we consider it as a encryption key. After that, data in memory located in offset 0 from the address written in X19, or it is the first data in memory in X19, will be read and stored into register X10 in our CPU, and then that value in X10 will be exclusive OR, or in other words, it is encrypted by exclusive OR operation with the key stored in X9, and that value and the result will be given in X11. Finally, that result in X11 will be written back or stored back into memory at the same location in offset 0 at the memory shown by X19. Similarly, after these three instructions, the next three instructions will read the second value in memory, or the value at offset 1 shown by X19, into X10, doing encryption by exclusive OR that value together with X9, and then write into X11. The result in X11 will be written back to the memory at the same location, and we do the same thing until the location 7 or the offset the location 7 or the offset the location 8 or the offset address of 7. And so now we will use this program for our lab 2. In this lab, we will go into the operation of our CPU. I mean the operation inside the CPU. We will look into how CPU work with this program. We look into the value of program counter, the value of memory, I mean the memory data, the value inside memory, and we look into the value of register during the operation of this program. And before, as I say before, our code will work on iPhone 11, iPhone 8, and I searched the document before, and here is the image of a chip or image of a circuit inside iPhone 8. It uses A11 Bionic system on chip processor. This one, it also has memory inside, and so our program, this one in binary will be available in the memory inside this chip, and when the program execute one instruction by one, the first one, the second one by one, will be loaded from memory into the register inside CPU for execution. And now we will go into the condition for this program. You can find the condition for this program or the initial condition, initial value for this program in our Excel file lab2 part 1 no solution file. As you can see here, this is for memory. The memory from address 0 to address 3FFFFC is a reserved memory, and so your program or the user program cannot be written into this area. And so our program start from memory address 400000. For this, in order to talk simple, I will remove the prefix 4000, and so I will say that 00 or 04 as our address in memory for this area. And so as you can see here, our first instruction add x9 xzr hash 243 will be in the first memory in the first address of 400000, or in short at the user memory 00, the first instruction. And then upward we have the second instruction in the next memory address, LDURB x10 x19 and then hash 0. This address, this memory, this value, this instruction will be located here, and then the third instruction located here. As you know before, our each instruction in our program, each instruction use 32 bits or 4 bytes. Here from here to here it is 32 bits or 4 bytes, and so one instruction occupies 4 bytes. The next instruction will occupy the next 4 bytes. That's why we have the first instruction located at 00 and the second instruction located at 04, because these are 4 bytes, and so the next instruction must be located here, and so on. We have the third instruction in 08, fourth in 0C or 12 from 40000, and so on up to the final instruction here. That is the this is the location of our program. Inside CPU, inside memory, we also have the area for stack, and stack will start here and count downward. It starts by 7 FFFC here, and it counts down until here, and the dynamic stack will count up from here. So we have a very large area for stack available in this, and here you have the initial value inside our memory for data. Here the initial value here and here available as a value. We will other memory cell. We won't use it at this time, so we will not take care about this, but we will care about this value. That is the initial value inside our memory. For PC, we know that in order to execute a program, the PC or program counter will show into the address of the instruction, and that instruction will be loaded into our register and executed inside CPU. And we know that our memory, the first instruction in our program or in our code located at 400000, And so PC of course initial by 4000 and 00 here, so we can start execute this first instruction. And then in fact for the circle 1 it is this value, and for circle 2, 3 and 4 and so on you have to count it yourself. But as I said before, our program here will be 4 bytes for each instruction, and so the value will be 04SC1014 like this. And so that's why you have the initial value of 00 here, and it counts up 04, 08, 0C, and for the remaining you have to fill it yourself. For the value of register, we have initial value in X19. Here the initial value from X0 to X31. We don't need to take care about those value here, but we need to take care about the value of X19. It is 7 FFE6C here. And of course for XZR the value always be 0. Now we will consider about our program, how it works, how it might change in the PC value, and how it might change to our register how it might change the value inside our register. We will look into the change in PC or program counter. At first, we know that in a program or in a CPU, PC or program counter point to the address of the instruction that will be loaded from memory into register and into CPU for execution. So at the initial time, PC will be 400 and 00. Value of PC shows that the current execution instruction will be this instruction. This 32 bits will be loaded from memory into CPU for execution. During that execution time, PC will be automatically added with 4 because we have 4 bytes for one instruction. So the next instruction will be the next 4. So PC will be added with 4, making it 4000 and 4 at the end. And that value will be written into PC for second instruction execution. That's why we have here value of PC change from 00 to 04 for the circle for the second circle execution. And next we will take care about our register, the value inside each register inside our CPU. As you can see here in this first instruction, it value in X9 will be replaced by value 243. Well, value 243, let's see, 243, value 243 should be 1111 and then 0011, 8 bits, because X9 is 8 bits value, so it will be this. And so if we look into register, we know that at circle 1 value of X9 will be replaced by 243 in decimal, or it is 1111 and then 0011 here, this value. Well, and the thing is a little bit more complex for the second instruction. You know that now our PC the value in PC is 40004. So at the second circle, the instruction at 40004, this instruction will be loaded to CPU for execution. PC will automatically add with 4 change to 40008, and so here PC 40008 for the third circle. And if we look into this instruction, we know that we need to load value in memory shown by x19 and the offset address 0 into register x10. So we need to know what is the value inside x19, so we know which memory we should look into. Here at the initial time, we have the value of x19, that is 7FFFFFE6C. So we search for that address, memory address at FFFFFFE6C. We know that the value is this value in binary, and we know we need the offset address 0, so the first byte from this address will be loaded into x10. So the first byte into this will be this 101111110. So that value will be loaded into x10. It is 1011 and then 1110 in circle 2. This value will be available inside x10. Now we change to the third instruction. We know that at the third circle instruction in 40008, the PC value here will be executed, and so for that instruction, this instruction, it is exclusive OR x10, the value inside x10 together with the key 243 in x9, and then written back into x11. So we check this value. We know that the value in x9, the key 243, the value is 11110011. So it is 1111 0 just a second. So x9 0011 0011, and the value in register x10, here we know the value in x10, it is we need to exclusive OR with value in x10, it is 1011 1011 and then 111 and 0. So the exclusive OR result is 1001 101. So the first bit should be 0 because we need 8 bits. So the first bit is 0, and it means that inside register 11 here, the value inside register 11 will be 0 and then 100 and then 1101, 8 bits. So inside register 11, the value is 0 100 and then 1101. So this is the third circle inside register x11. We have this value. And how about PC? Of course, during the execution of the third circle, value of PC will be automatically added with 4, and so it changed from value 40008 into 4000C, or 0C here means 12. So the next value of PC will be 4000C, and it point to this instruction, and that instruction is store back into memory. The value inside register X11 will be stored back to memory with the base address in X19 and the offset address of 0. And so we know that this value 01001101 will be stored back into memory, and which address? The address is shown by X19 and offset address 0. So we know this address. We come back here and we know that this is the address in shown by X19, and the current value is this, but at the offset address 0, it means this byte will be replaced by this value inside X11, this value. So in memory, the remaining from here to here will be keep the same. For the last 24 bits or high upper 24 bits, it keeps they are keeping the same, but for the first 8 bits, the value changed to value inside X11, which is 0100 and then 1101. So you can see here 01001101. Similarly, we can consider about other instruction from the fifth instruction. So if you look into this, or in a more easier way, you will look into this program. You can see that these three instructions will do the same thing with these three instructions, but the only difference is the data in memory will be loaded from offset address 1 exclusive or with key, and then return back to the offset address 1, and the base address is still showing by X19. And so well, here is another the same documents, but it has a full answer. I will take it from here. So here we know that for the offset address 1, it is this value, offset address 1 of the memory shown by X19, base address in X19, it is this value. So this value will be loaded into here in circle 5. That value will be loaded into X10. Here you can see the instruction. It is load. The instruction is just a second. You can see the instruction will be load here. Load from offset address 1 in base address X19 into X10. So this value 1001, that value will be loaded into register X10. This 1001 at circle 5 will be loaded into X10, and then that value will be exclusive OR together with X9, which is 243, and the value will be after exclusive OR with 243, the value will be this one, 011011001, and in circle 7 it store back from register X11 into memory, so no change in register here. Here you can see at circle 7 it store back from x11 into x19, and so after 7 circle, value inside memory at this location, base address in x19 and offset address 1 will be replaced by this value in register x11. Well, we will make an exclusive OR first for easily understanding. So this value exclusive OR with the key, and here is the key, and the result is 1101,001. So we have one more 0 here. Value inside x11 0 1 1 0 1 0 0 1 here, and that value after the 7 circle here, the 7 circle 7, it will be loaded into it will be written back into memory at this location, replace for this, so it will be written here. And how about PC? Well, we will come back here. We know that PC with our code, it will gradually increase by 4 and 4 and 4. So after the fourth instruction, PC will be increased by 4, and it changes from 0C to 10, and then the 6th it will be 10 to 14 and 18 1C, and then 20 24 28 2C, and so on until the final instruction in our code, which will be located at 40060. You can see here. Here's the last instruction in 400 and then 60. And you, of course, you can do the same to find the value of PC, to find the register value inside each register after each circle, and the value inside memory after each circle, and you can you do the same, and you will have the final result. That value all 4 bytes in this address will be exclusive OR with 243, and then written back. Here you can see written back, and then after that you will load the value from the next instruction, the next memory from here. 4 bytes, 4, 5, 6 and 7, you load those 4 bytes into register and exclusive OR with 243, and then written back into offset address 4, 5, 6 and 7. And so here we finish our lab 1. We finish our lab 2 and the part 1. Well, we already finished our first part in today's lab about how the CPU work, how it changes the value of registers, and the PC value or program counter value, and the value inside memory after each instructions. Now we move to part 2, in which we will try to apply some conditional operation or a loop operation to reduce the number of instructions we need in our assembly code. Well, if we look into we look back again into our lab 2 part 1, we can see that for each of these 3 instructions, a group of 3 instructions like this do the same thing. they load data from memory exclusive or encrypt with a key and then write back to the same location. But due to the change of location in memory, we will have the offset address change gradually 0 and then 1 and then 2 until 7. I mean, in total we need to process 8 byte data in memory. So a question is, why don't we make a loop condition, or why don't we use conditional operation to make the program shorter? For example, we may use a variable to change the value of x19 instead of the same base address. We will increase the value of base address one by one each time. So and the offset address keeps the same, and so in that case we can gradually increase the memory address that we want to read data and store back to the same location. So in that case we will need only 3 instructions together with few more instructions for increasing the base address. With that consideration, we move to this part 2 conditional operation. The requirement is to complete the code below that re-implements the assembly code in part 1 using conditional operations to create a loop and reduce the number of instructions. Now we know that the first instruction, there is no other way to replace it because it appeared only once in the code. So we use the same instruction to load the secret key or the encryption key into x9, and here we will need a counter because we need to do the operation to add data. So we need a counter to know when we finish the operation for those add data, and so here we will do the same instruction with the first one, but instead of 243 we replace it by 8. It means that the value 8 will be loaded into register x12, and we consider x12 like the number of bytes to encrypt, so that we will reduce the value of x12 one by one until we get 0, and at that time our loop will finish. And then we will need a register that will be used as the base address. Instead of x19 we will need one more register working as a base address, but that base address will gradually increase one by one, so it will scan through memory 1, memory 0, memory 1, 2 up to memory 7. So here we will use register x13 as that base register, that base address, and so we will add x13 x19 with 0, which means that value inside x19 will be written into x13, and after that x13 will be gradually increased as the base register for read and write data back to memory. And here now here we move to the loop, the most important part here. Well, so we do the same thing. We will load the data from a memory into register x10, but now the base address is in x13, and so here we have this instruction: load x10 and then x13 with the offset address of 0. After that, of course, we will need to do exclusive OR or encrypt the data by exclusive OR x10 and x9 and written back to x11, completely the same with this one. And next we need to store it back to the memory, so the store data use the same instruction, but as our base address now is in x13, we will use x13 instead of x19. And next, of course, we need to know, do we finish encryption all the data or not? Did we finish to encrypt all the data or not? For that purpose, we will reduce the number of x12, which is 8 integer by 8 like this for 8 data by 1. So we will subtract with intermediate for x12 and then #1. It means that the current value in x12 will be -1 and then store back to x12. And here for the question mark, you need to write some instruction here so that you can make comparison whether x12 get to 0 or not. If it get to 0, it means we finish our work inside this loop. We will jump to exit. If not, of course, we will need to do again with the next data. And in order to work with the next data, you need to add x13 by 1. So the base address will increase by 1, but the offset address keep the same by 0. It means that you will work with the next byte, which is shown by x13. That's why here we have an instruction of 8 eyes, x13 and then x13 1. This instruction will add value 1 into x13, making x13 pointing to the next address in the memory, and then after that we will need to come back to the loop for the operation. So now we will need to answer the question mark in red here in this line and this line. So we know that with our understanding about this program before, we know that x12 is used as a counter to know whether we process all our data already or not. And so x12 will gradually reduce from 8 or the total number of data until 0, and we will need to exit this loop when we finish all the data or when x12 get to 0. So here with this instruction, this part of the instruction, we know that we will need to compare x12 together with 0, and we will exit the loop if x12 get to 0. Well, in order to do so, we will need to look into our LegV8 reference data to find some instructions that will work with compare and branch. So if we look here, we can see some branch here, branch condition, branch condition, branch with link, branch to register, compare, and branch if not 0. This instruction will work, will jump to another label if the register used is not 0. So which is not the one we need. We need to jump if the value is 0. And so the next instruction, this one, compare and branch if 0. We know that if the value of the register RT get to 0, this instruction will make a jump to another location. So we will need the CBZ instruction. So here we will fill into this place by CBZ. So we will have it jump if the value, we will have a jump if the value of x12 get to 0, or if we already process all our data, instead of processing these two instructions and come back here, we will jump to exit, and then the next instruction under here will continue. And so if we need to continue our process on data, it means that x12 is not yet 0. We will need to increase the value of x13 by 1, and we know that in x13 we have the base address of the we have the base address in memory of the data that we need to process next, and then we will need to jump back to loop to process that data. So we will need to look for a unconditional jump. And now we will look again into this reference, and we can see here a branch B. The B instruction will simply jump into a location shown by the by the branch address or by the label. So here we simply replace it by B. Yeah, and so we have our program like this. So these are the two instructions we need to include into our program to finish this part 2 experiment. Now I will extend our work in part 2 a little bit. We will make comparison about the advantage and disadvantage between the code in part 2 and the code in part 1. We know that both these two codes are doing the same function. Both of them process 8 bytes of data, encrypt 8 bytes of data in memory with a key, and then write back into memory. But we can see that code in part 2 requires 10 lines of instruction, while the code in practical part 1 requires 8 groups of 3 bytes, 8 groups of 3 instructions, and so it is 24 instructions, and this instruction is 25. So 25 instruction comparison with 10 instruction. So of course you can see that this code is shorter than this code. So is this really this code is better than this code in a practical one? Well, we look into it from the flexibility viewpoints at first. If we look into this, you can see that in practical one, you need to change the offset address from 0, 1, 2 manually. You have to write them down during you make program. So it takes a human resource, of course, and if you need to process a big amount of data, your code will be very long. Instead of that, if you want to make an amount of data in code practical 2, you just write that amount of data here into x12, and so after that, inside the loop, x12 will be reduced one by one automatically until the end, and it go to exist. So this one will be shorter. The code in this one will be shorter and more flexible in terms of data. So this code can be used to process data that is written in memory in sequence. A big amount of data written in memory in sequence. You can see it in the term of encryption or decryption, where the data are written byte by byte in memory sequentially. Another situation you can see is in image processing. You have a big image, for example, Full HD image with few thousands pixels. Each pixels will be a value and written in memory in sequence, and so you can change this value into few thousand or few 10,000, and then this small code will scan through your image and apply some execution. So in flexibility, of course, this code is better than this code, but if we look into the performance, we can see another thing. In code, in a practical one, in order to process one data in memory, you need only 3 instructions. If we assume that one instruction takes 1 circle to process, code in practical one needs 3 circles for 1 instruction. But the code in practical 2, it needs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 instructions are required to process one data. So it should take 7 clocks, CPU clocks, to finish one data processing in code 2, and we can see that the execution time of code 2 should be double in comparison with the execution time for data in code 1. And so you should use this way of coding when you have a small amount of data, but you need to process it very fast, that it cannot be matched in terms of time, in terms of processing time by code 2. You should write the processing for each data like this, and then you will finish it when all data are completed. But of course, the amount of data should be very small, and you have very limited in processing time. You should use this code. And now we move to part 3 of our lab today, in which we will concentrate into procedure call. And here we have a program. The first instruction in our program is BL encrypt, or it is a call to procedure encrypt, and the code for the procedure encrypt located here. After BL call for procedure, we will jump after this procedure process to the end and turn back. We will jump to exit to finish our program. And if we look into this program, and if we make comparison with our first program in today practical part 1, we can see that all these instructions in our part 1 are completely the same with these. So you can see I mark it in yellow now. You can see that our program in practical 1 today are completely the same, even for register. Register 9 are used for the key with the same value. Register 10 are used as the temporary memory, temporary register to store the value read from memory, in which the base address is shown by x19 at the offset address of 0. And then x11 is the result of x10 exclusive OR with the key and then written back to memory. Here you can see they are completely the same. And so the how the PC and how the registers inside CPU change during this part, yellow part, are also known before. When we do in the practical 1, you can do the same and you will know the value. We will concentrate into the procedure code how to use stack memory with stack pointer, how to store data into stack memory, and how to return data back from stack memory together with return back from the procedure call. The initial, here is the initial value inside memory and inside PC and registers of our CPU. Here we know that the program should start at 40000, and so here we have the first instruction BL encrypt located in address 40000, and the next instruction the assist from our program located at the next address in which and due to one instruction takes 4 bytes, so the next address for the instruction will be 400004 for the branch to assist. After that, the encrypt procedure started here. The encrypt procedure starts here at address 40008, the first instruction in our procedure, and gradually our procedure will be ended here by BRLR, which will return to the procedure code here. The initial value, so the initial value for our so the initial value for return, the initial value for start our program will be this 40000 at the first circle. In the register files we have the initial value for x19 is 7 FFFFFE6C. Here's the initial condition of our program. We will look into how the program works now. So we know that we execute this instruction. During the execution of this instruction, PC will be automatically added to 4, so that it can point to the next instruction here. However, this instruction means call to the procedure in which the address will be shown by here 40008. So after execution for this instruction, PC program counter will change to 40008 instead of 4004. So here we have the program counter for the circle 2 will be 40008. And one more thing is the BL instruction. We need to store the return address. The return address here you can see in the reference for a black V8. The return address is x30 or LR. It keeps the return address. And where is the return address? We know that after executing this instruction, when we return from procedure, the next instruction that need to be executed will be this instruction. So the return address is 40004. And so you look into this at circle 1, the result of circle 1, the return address will be keep into x30 or LR, and the value is 40004. So we know that after the circle 1, the instruction in LR, the value in LR will be 04. The value in PC will change from 00 to 08 for the next instruction. And then the instruction sub I SP #8, it means that the stack pointer will reduce its value by 8y because our data in memory is stored by unit of 64 bits or a double words, so the stack pointer needs to reduce 8 bytes to show to the point that we can store our value. And here in this we know the initial, we start our stack pointer initially here by 7 FFFFFC. So after reducing for 8 stack pointer here from FC, if you reduce for 8 bytes, it will be F4. So at circle 2, after the execution of the second instruction, this stack pointer value is changed from FC to F4 and store here. Next, we will execute the third instruction, the STUR, or the store into stack memory. We will store the value of x19 into stack memory shown by stack pointer. We know that the value of x19 is initially start by 7 FE6C. So remember FE6C here. So value. So now after execution of this instruction, value of FE6C will be stored into the memory shown by stack pointer. Stack pointer now shown by FFFF4. So we move to memory address FFFF4 here. Here the value of x19 will be stored into this, and it should be equal 7 FFF FE6. Let me see it again. This value FE6C. So here it should be 5F and then FE6C. So this value should be so this value or the content of x19 should be stored into this these memory cells. Please, I'm not really sure if I make the correct number of F here, but it should be the content of register x19 will be stored into the memory address from F4 for 64 bits. And well, then after this instruction, we move to SI x9 0 and hash 243. It is completely the same with what we did in our part 1, so I will not go into detail of this instruction, but you can know that yeah, of course PC will change after this instruction. After this procedure call instruction, PC will change to 08, and then from here up here it will gradually count up by 4, and so value of PC here you can see it gradually count up by 4 from 8C and then 10 and then up to 7C. Well, but why we have a different value here, I will explain it now. So we will continue with our program until here. Here we have the last three instruction in our program, that is ELD UR X19 and then SISP. So here we come back to our Excel file. Here is ELD UR X19 SP0. What does it mean? It means that we need to load back the value that we store here, the value of X19 that we store into stack pointer, into stack memory here, and we load it back here so that we don't lose our X19 value after calling the procedure. And so here if we look into this, we know that value of X19 will be stored here. So after a number of instruction, X19 here, in fact in our program, in fact if you look into our program, here if you look into our program, you can see that we didn't change the value of X19 at all in our program. So after this instruction, the same value of X19 will be loaded from stack memory, but value of X19 won't change at all during our execution, during our program execution. And so here you can see X19 keep the same value forever, even after loading it back from stack memory. After that, we execute this one, stack pointer equals stack pointer added with 8. Why we need to do so? Because after we read back the value of X19 from stack memory, that memory will be freed and ready for other data to be stored by stack operation. And so we need to change our stack address from here again back to here, so it will point to this location. So the next data will be stored again back to here. Or if we need to read back data from here, it will read back from data around here. And after this one, of course only value of stack pointer change. So you look into this value of stack pointer. Now it keeps the value of F4 all this time, and then after the execution of stack pointer add together with immediate value of 8, it changed back to FC at this circle. And after that we will have the BR, LR or branch back to the instruction after before calling the procedure. So that value will be this, and this value 400004 is stored inside LR or return address. So here 40004, it keep here, that value will be written into PC so that our program return from this location back to this address for assist. And that's why here we have the value 40004 in our PC, in which the program will so that the program will turn back from a procedure like this into its original program. here, and after that we go to assist this location, and the program finished.